When I used to get high, my story is kind of like the Wizard of Oz movie. Like, I met so many characters along the way. No, it wasn't the Scarecrow or the Tin Man or the Cowardly Lion, but I met a lot of characters along the way, and it was kind of like, most of us were trying to get to the Emerald City, right? The Emerald City would be God, trying to find God and see, if He can deliver us from this crack thing. There were many people crying out to God at that time. So, on my journey, at one time I was living in Ohio, and this is an amazing story to me from an amazing man who did not know me. So I'm walking down the street one day in Ohio. I'm fully blown off crack, trying to find out who I can rob or do something to get some more money, right? And so I'm walking past this church, and it's almost nighttime, and I see this man outside, and he's fixing a sign on the church, and it's a small church, right? So I walk up to him and say, sir, can you spare a few dollars? He turns around and looks at me and said, no, I don't have any money, but I got some work for you to do. And so, me wanting some crack, of course, I said, okay, what's the work? So he brought me inside the church and had me do different things in the church. And when I was almost done, and he looked at me, he said, I can give you this money. He said, but I know you're going through a drug problem. He said, I can give you this money, or I can extend my hand to you and I can help you get off drugs. He said, I have an apartment building right next door, my wife and I, and you can stay there. And then he turned around and said, no, I'm going to have you come stay with me and my wife. Now, it seems really weird. I mean, you on crack, you don't think of, oh, they might be some crazy couple. But my thinking was, like, what kind of man is this that's going to take a crack addict off the street and let him come live with him? So this is exactly what he did. This man took me to his home. Um, let me sleep in his living room, big old house, living room on a couch, while his wife and him went upstairs, right, and went to sleep. So I'm down here on this couch. Out of nowhere, I'm first homeless, and then I end up on these people's couch, right? And um, as I'm laying the next morning, when they came down, they asked me, was I ready to eat? And they were making breakfast and stuff like that. And I asked them, I said, y'all don't have any worries about what I would do to y'all while you would sleep? And they was like, no, we just believe that God sent you here, and we want to help you. Man, these people nursed me back to health, man. I mean, for months and for even over a year, nursed me back to health. My life turned around. I ended up actually marrying this pastor sister, right, and ended up moving to Ohio. It's the craziest story that ended up tragically because years later I went back on drugs. But the miracle of it is I've met so many amazing people on this journey to try to get to Oz or to get to God. People who would never. I asked him to this day because we still friends. I said, "Would you ever do that again? Let somebody else in?" No, and he said, "But I would hate to see what God would have done to me if I wouldn't have helped you that day." Crazy story.